folks. Welcome back to the NBC Network, iHealth Radio, the iHealth channel, the Fit and Fab channel. Name your channel. We're going to be covering this probably on it. With me today, I have a guest that we've been talking since February, and we finally made it happen. So it takes sometimes time, but I guess good things are worth waiting for. And then, and really, I have a pleasure today to have a guest that we're going to have quite a bit of discussion today about motivation, about sports, about books. Just going to be a lot of things. So my guest is he owns that Guy Media Group. He is a former college football player. He's a sports analyst. He's a fitness coach. I mean, he's a mentor. He's an international speaker, an author. I mean, he does a lot. He's busy, and you know what? Again, if you watch or hear, or listen to the shows, it's a trait of a lot of people. It's a very similar thing that you hear over and over with people that have some sort of an ambition. They strive for success and things like that. So these are like similar things that you'll find across the board, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, it sounds crazy, but somehow these people do it. I do it. They do it. A lot of people are doing it, and you know what? Hopefully, we can be contagious enough to get you guys to be able to do that. Now, it may be difficult, but there's a way to do this. So without any further ado, I have with me Ahmard Vital. Ahmad, welcome to the show, man.
Man, thank you for having me on.
My pleasure, dude. I mean, listen, I don't know where to start. You got so much stuff going on, and let's start with the basics. I mean, your background, I mean, is amazing. I mean, listen, college football is pretty big. I mean, you were there, so we can start from that journey, and then because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that happened there that drove who you are today. And today's episode is going to be to drive people some motivation, some inspiration. Ultimately, you have also services that you offer, and would like to talk about those as well. So let's start with your humble beginnings, and because to go to that stage is pretty big too. I mean, everybody watches, college football, and it's a big event. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and yeah, let's take it from there, or even sooner or earlier rather than that. So go for it, man.
Well, again, thank you, man. And it's really, it just comes down to the fact that, man, I've been a writer basically from the time I could walk. I had a pen in my hand, coming from a small town in Texas. And it was like, man, it's like I said, I had a pen in my hand and a dream. And so, I mean, I got my first newspaper job when I wrote my first book at 10. I was working for a newspaper by the age of 14. I was the editor of my high school newspaper, went into college, majored in journalism, learned photography, taught myself. I mean, all of these things just stem from the fact that, you're going to list off a lot of things in my bio, the coaching, the keynote speaking, the curriculum building, the ministry, and all of these different things. It all comes back to this. God's greatest gift he ever gave me was the ability to be able to pull out a pen and write. And so that's where the foundation starts from. And, whether it's college football, which obviously that happened post-college, and ended up, getting on with guys like Scout.com, Rivals, Fox Sports Southwest. And, and the beautiful thing is, man, I'm in the state of Texas, and we produce the best athletes in the country. So, I mean, if you're the Texas recruiting analyst, there's not a school in the country who's not looking at athletes from here, even the smaller schools. So college football is a big deal. And whereas I haven't done it as much, but it's funny you asked me this because I just submitted an article to Dave Campbell's Texas Football 7 days ago, because sports writing, especially here in Texas, is like a mob. You don't leave, you sort of change course, but you're always part of the crew. You cannot leave. It is against the rules to leave. And so I dip my toe in every once in a while, but definitely for the most part, I've always been a fan. I've always kept up, for the most part with, top teams, top recruits and things of that nature. So I try to keep my finger on the pulse, and, even wrote my first book based on football and different things of that nature. But I'd say that football, when it comes to writing, sports and football was my first love.
Well, that's big. I mean, football, it is the primary, I guess, sport in the States. And I mean, I don't know which one leads. I mean, I think football beats, baseball. Again, don't shoot me right now. Yeah, I'm sure there's hardcore baseball fans, and we have all the other guys, but I think football still is, the majority lead there. But the fact of the matter is, sports in general are
Mhm.
worldwide. I mean, that's like I mean, when you see championships and and these World Cups and all these things, I mean, people
Yeah.
go nuts. I mean, people spend their life savings to attend some of these I guess events, and it is great. There's so much support to it. Period. And but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes in the sports scene. Period. Right. And but I love what you said that you were since you ever remember, you had a pen, you started working early on, I guess in the newspaper, doing different things and writing. And your first book you said was what, at 10 or 12?
Well, my
Oh, no,
first,
you
first,
don't,
my
you,
first,
you didn't say
my
that.
first, yeah, my first book I wrote as a project. I was like in third or fourth grade or something like that, man. Somewhere between 8, 10, 12 years old. I was doing a little project or whatever, and my teacher was like, "This is pretty good. We should put it in a contest." And I'm just like, don't worry about it, because why? And it was just, you're young and kind of dumb, and it was just like, I mean, I could have catapulted something early on, but who knows? But I did put together a small starter book at
But
that
again,
time, at the young age. But I mean, yeah, I've been writing for pretty much my whole life.
big things start small, and you know what? That showed that was going to be your trend anyways. So and you lived to it. Eventually, every phase of your life, or stage of your life, you were able to just upgrade. And so the actual first book that you based on sports that came up when, in college or after college or.
2011, I wrote "Awaken the Baller Within," which is the only book cover that's behind me. Yes, I wrote that book in 2011 after studying the success habits of close to 100 college football players, star college football players at the time, and it was a great project. I did that somewhat in the same model that Napoleon Hill did with Think and Grow Rich. Which, if you have any entrepreneurs on there, I'm pretty sure every entrepreneur has read Think and Grow Rich, or if you've done anything of note, Think and Grow Rich is on your shelf somewhere. So I did the same thing Napoleon Hill did with entrepreneurs and business people. I did that with star college football players, and really wanted to understand the mindset of what it takes to be successful on the field. Because I've seen a lot of guys who are extremely talented, and Lord knows where they are now. I mean, I was pulling up an old magazine the other day, and it had the top 100 in there, and I was sharing with my brother. I was like, you realize like 80% of these dudes never made it through college. The bus rate of of anything, baseball, football, basketball. I mean, the bus rate is high. And I'm looking at these guys coming out of high school. I still have DVDs of guys from many, many years ago. And I'm like, man, whatever happened to him? He was the best at what he did. The mindset. And so that was what Awaken the Baller Within focused on, was like, what I understand, you're throwing a lot of touchdowns, you're making a lot of tackles, you're out here, running great routes and catching all these different things. What is the mindset that it takes for you to be successful? And so that book really focused a lot on that. And what people were realizing is, and the intent was, is that sports is just a metaphor for life. Sports is simply a metaphor for life. Because what would happen is parents who knew me in the sports world, they would buy the book for their kid, and the book would come in while the kids at school, and the parents would thumb through it, and they're just like, oh my goodness, this book isn't about sports. I know, that's the point, but it's written in sports type language because I was a jock who hated to read. And so I catered to guys who are also jocks and didn't like to read. And so I wanted to make sure they had something that they can take care of and get their mind right without having to like invest a ton of time reading, but also get some beneficial things out of it.
Well, I love that sports as a metaphor for life. I mean, it's deep, and frankly, when you think about it, anyone watching and listening right now, just take a second to actually, just absorb that. I mean, sports is to your point, it is live. I mean, it's just actually live looks like the sports game. I mean, you're competitive, you have things, you have goals, you have this, you have that. You got to prepare yourself. There's all the stuff that we deal day to day, that is reflected in the sports, and it is an interesting way to look at it. And I love what you said, that it's you made it easy for people to really relate to. By the way, I have to laugh about this. You said DVD, so some audiences may not even know what that is.
Hey man, I was one of my colleagues. We were speaking together some time ago, and he was telling me how many VHS tapes he he has stacked up. He was like, man, I have like 12, 13 tapes of Adrian Peterson's videos from back in the day. And it's just like, you got to think Adrian Peterson is not that old, right? And some of his highlights from Palestine are on VHS. Just let that sink in, because even some of your audience, even some of the younger members of your audience do know who Adrian Peterson is. I mean, he hasn't been out the league that long to where, and if they don't know, their father for sure knows. But that wasn't that long ago. And then, of course, tapes went to DVDs, and then it was about, making your highlight tape through a DVD. And then once stuff got digital, and then I remember when Huddle came out, it was like, this is a game changer. Like, you mean you could share film? I mean, I'm old enough to remember when coaches used to wait after games with a stack of tapes, and they would pass tapes off so they can scout other teams. And like, here's your 3 games, and it was just a gentleman's agreement, and they would pass off VHS tapes to the team so that you can adequately scout them. I mean, this happened within my lifetime, man. I mean, rotary phones. I mean, I can go through it. Pagers, cell phones. I mean, I saw when all those things happened. So, yeah,
Ahmad, it's less than 30 years. Most of this stuff happened. I mean, the DVDs and that's more recent. But I mean, VHS. That was like literally. I mean, people still have the actual players, VHS players right now. I mean, you have those. The other ones that we don't have anymore, probably someone has them 8 tracks, and that's going a little bit behind the timeline here. But really, you're right. I mean, the technology is gone.
My mother has a few.
Oh, that's still all right. Oh, those are legit, man. I mean, those are vintage stuff. If you have them, you gotta. My father-in-law has them. Trust me. And he was in the Air Force, and he had his player, and he still has some oldies in those things, and he still holds on to them as a just part of history and heritage for him. It's interesting. I mean, now we're in the digital age. I mean, you don't need anything, just files and clouds, and we're in the. But it's cool stuff. But I just sorry. I mean, I had to throw that in because you just brought in something from a history moment there. So,
hey man, I had LL Cool J's "I'm Bad" on record when I was 10 years old. I had LL Cool J's "I'm Bad." I think I had Michael Jackson's "Off the Wall" on record too. That was the two records I had. Yes. I am.
Records still have a different sound to them. I don't care
they still sell records at the store, like at Target and Walmart. They still sell records. I'm like, somebody's still buying these. They're taking up shelf space.
No, they are, because they have these new devices now that actually they have the vinyl, players, like in the actual, they have the record players, that are like digitized version, whatever. They have like, USB, have all the stuff, but they're like, they bring it back, and it is happening. So yes. And it just that needle on that thing and the way it sounds is just different from, it's just different. But hey, listen, technology is going one way, and I mean, we're just reminiscing on some good stuff. But so let's talk about that. The lessons that you've put into that book. It's about motivation, inspiration, about the things that people will go through in life. So let's get into deep dive in there. Like, what are some of the things that you've discovered, or at least that you put in there, that are really things that we should be paying attention to? Because everybody watching us, it doesn't matter what life stage you're in, you're gonna go through different things, and you need sometimes to be orientated, or into some direction, or at least get some footings. So your things are probably going to touch on those things. So if you don't mind, can you share with us some of those?
Yeah, I really narrowed it down to 3 things, because the book is written in quarters, just like a football game is. There's 4 quarters, and obviously there's a halftime, and there's the end of the game. But there's so many different concepts in there where it focuses on many different things, but I really narrowed it down to 3 things: dream building, goal setting, and a relentless pursuit of both of those. So what do you say? Dream building. So dream building is different than goal setting, because goal setting can be daily, right? Goal setting can be by the hour. Goal setting can be for the quarter, for the week, for the day, for the month, for the year. We all have, if I flip my camera around, I have my goals sitting up here on sticky notes, because I'm a sticky notes junkie. And there's goals for all 7 areas of life, right? Well, when you're a football player, you set goals. You set team goals, you set individual goals, and maybe there's some weight goals. Maybe you want to be benching a certain thing. You want to have a certain 40 time. Well, that's the same thing we do in life, right? And so that's the goal side of things. But dream building is a little bit more vast than that. It's like, okay, we want to go to the playoffs at the end of the year, but do I want to use this experience to build on something greater? Do I want me being a leader as a quarterback, as a linebacker, or whatever position I play? Do I want to leverage that into being an entrepreneur, to being a CEO? And so when I say football is a metaphor for life, I want to say my dream is I eventually want to be a scientist. I eventually want to be a police officer. I eventually want to be a principal of a school, right? And so the dream building is, if I could envision, if I could snap, if I could, whatever, if I could say, what is the thing I want to be doing at blank age? And obviously there's different stages, just like different seasons in football, there's different seasons in life as well. So for this first season, what do I want? That dream could be to go to a college, Oklahoma, USC, Michigan, pick your college. It doesn't matter. That could be the dream for that season, meaning between I'm 17 now, by 22, 23, I want to be graduating from this college. That's a dream, right? My goal is, what do I want to get done for this season? As far as football season, I'm junior, sophomore, whatever that is. And so that's the difference between the two. Dream is something larger, something far more long-term. Goal can be something instantaneous by the day and different things like that. The relentless pursuit of both of them is, we don't have time for your excuses, right? You put that goal on paper. You take this paper and say, okay, coach, hey, mentor, hey, father, hey, whomever is the person who is pouring into you, this is what I want to do by this amount of time. Because obviously our goals are, like you say, some are weekly, some are monthly, some are yearly, some are for a quarter. Well, the same way goes with sports as well. We want to have those goals on paper, but you also want to have someone who can help you along the way to pursue, because we understand success doesn't happen by yourself. I know we're in that society where it's like, I did this on my own. I got it out the mud, man. It's all me. No, it's not, because no one's successful on their own. This podcast you have right now, it looks amazing. And I know that you didn't create all of this on your own. Somebody helped you along the way, because none of us were successful without that. And so that relentless pursuit is when you start looking into people to bring into your circle to hold you accountable, right? Getting the yes people out of your life early. I encourage my guys early on. Hey, if somebody's too, complimentary of you, hey, man, get you some people who are going to check you. Get you some people who are going to hold you accountable. Get you some people who's going to be like, H, you're not looking at this in the right way. What do you mean? I think you could be doing something like this and it will be more beneficial for you. You need people like that. You need people who don't think that everything you do is awesome. And so all of those things are encapsulated in what ended up being my first published book. But when they look at it in totality, they realize that, like, this book is not about sports, but sports is the fuel that it takes to catapult you to another area of life. And so you still take those same lessons from your football, basketball, softball life and take it into the real world.
There's a lot of stuff in there, man. So you touch on dreams, you touch on success, you touch on the idea of goal settings. And by the way, I love what you said about your sticky junkie. I mean, and putting things on there. It is a fact, when you write your stuff down, you cannot forget it, and it's in front of you, and you can work a plan towards it. I mean, it's funny because if you watch anything about criminal investigation or even journalism, right? I mean, you put this board and you start putting all the things in the map, and kind of figure out what's going on, who's connected to whatever investigation you do. And that's because you want to have everything in front of you. If you actually, put in a project, you put a plan together and you have all timelines and things like that. If you have a project, you have a project plan. All these things are key to guide you. But it doesn't, I love what you said, the goals are things that we do to get to our dream and achieve our dream and realize our dream. But dreams are important. And I think everybody dreams. And if someone is not, we'd like them to actually get into a dreaming world. And I'm not talking when you're sleeping. There's nothing. It's free to dream big. As a matter of fact, I always say, literally, dream, make your dreams, crazy. I mean, scare yourself if you have to. but really it doesn't matter. What's the big deal if the dream is large, huge, whatever, unacceptable by the average person? It doesn't matter. You dream it the way you want. But then now, I mean, obviously, dreams can be not irrealistic. I mean, sometimes we can dream something that may not happen. At least maybe not in our timeline. I want to live on Mars. Maybe it's not going to happen right now. You know what I mean? But you'd be surprised that I mean, Elon Musk is has aimed for some stuff that is like most people will think like it's crazy, but he's getting there. I mean, he's working his way up there, and every year he comes up with stuff. Today's technology, we were joking about DVDs and VHS. Well, who would have thought that where we are today? Somebody dreamt of this stuff and made them their live dream and succeeded doing these things, and now we use the fruits of that dream and whatever the work they put in. So it's important. So I love the idea that you talked in the book about uh, dreaming, and you touch on something that's important. You're right. You want to have a good entourage, but your entourage is not someone that's always going to be telling you like you're right, yes, you're good, yes, people. Because they're just gonna give you the compliment because sometimes they might not even agree. Like, okay, I just want to don't want to upset you, man. I'm gonna tell you yes, yes, yes. You want people that check you. And by the way, if you like, for example, I'm a person that has a positive attitude, and actually I have a weakness. I don't see negative in things. Sometimes I do appreciate people say like, hey, this is not gonna work. Because that literally gives me that balance because I can't see it. That's just my nature. So someone around me is always like, yo, did you think about this? Oh, maybe. Now I keep going, but now I have a different check mark to actually work on, and it helps me. So you're right. That's important. Who is behind you, who's working with you, is going to make a difference for you. Is going to make an impact on how you go. And then I love what you said about the ability to continuously work towards them because that is not something that's going to stop. Life doesn't stop until we end. I mean, literally in this world. Now, even that doesn't end because we do there is probably something better, to look forward after this life. Now, you're in the ministry, we could talk about. I'm sure we can do a whole show about that. But the fact is, it is real. So you got, and we have different stages. You mentioned like from 18 to 23. I mean, that is a core age where a lot of stuff happens. Regardless of how you were raised and family and things like that. Those are good factors that can help. Sometimes can also be detrimental one way or the other. But at the end of the day, that's an age where you want to be, in the right mindset. You have to start building these blocks, and again, you mentioned some. I love what you said. They were very modest dreams. I mean, you went from CEO, you went to principal, you to police officer, whatever that dream is. It's your dream. That's your success road. That's okay because everybody's different. And by the way, over the years, we all change sometimes, and we upgrade our dreams or change our dreams. No one literally is, but again, maybe not. I can't say because you seem to have done it correctly. You stayed within the same realm of your early childhood stuff. But not everybody does that. Some people, veer out, left, right, whatever. They'll find eventually their time, and it's never too late. That's the other thing, right? But any stage doesn't matter where you are. You gotta push, and you gotta work hard, and you gotta make things happen. But you have to have the plan for it. Now your book, that first book when someone reads it, will that be like a guide in a sense for them? Like, will they be able to actually kind of structure their life a little bit differently if they were to read it?
Yeah, and obviously that was written, like you said, I was written at a time when I was definitely deep in the sports world. So that was about that. But it's like sometimes you'll go back and look at your old work and be like, maybe I was on to something before I was on to it, And I think that a lot when I go back because it's interesting. I haven't done any promotions on that book probably in 7, 8 years. That book has come up more in the last 8 months than I can even remember. Right? I mean, like I'm not even with that publisher anymore, for goodness sakes. But the idea of how it's broken down into quarters. First quarter, we're focusing on the foundation, focusing on our mindset or whatever. Like the last chapter, in the first quarter is God, family, education, and football. Like that's the ending of that closes out that chapter because that's the foundational order by which I suggested you should live your life. Right? That's putting your priorities in order. Right? Football, remember, football is not the most important thing. Sports is not your most important thing. It's the metaphor. It's the driving engine to take you somewhere else. Because what happens when you do very good at your sport? What happens? A college gives you a scholarship to go to school for free, right? You play ball, you get an education, and you don't have to worry about debts, right? Think about that. So you may leave from that and go play professional with that sport. But if you don't, oh, the consolation prize is that I have an education where I get to major in something where I can go use that to leverage to get me a job. You see where we're going here, where this is the fuel, this is the engine. So when someone reads through Awaken the Baller Within, the point is to awaken something new in you, to awaken the idea that, like, man, I'm pretty awesome. Well, let me find out what I'm awesome with. What do I need to awaken? Do I need to awaken my writing? Do I need to awaken my acting? Do I need to awaken my trade skills? Do I need to awaken my business acumen? Do I need to awaken my landscaping skills? Do I need to awaken me as a builder? Right? I want you to awaken that which is in you. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about that fire, that light that only God can provide for you to bring out to the world what's great about you, because we all have different talents. And like you said, you may have something you're cool with when you're 20 and it evolves into something else. You said, yeah, I held on to writing the entire time. Yes, but what did I do with the writing? I used the writing to now build curriculum. I use the writing to formulate my keynotes I speak with. I use my writing to write my sermons and my ministry work. I use my writing for a whole host of things, to put together plans for my coaching clients. So all of these things come down to the fact that the pen is still in my hand, but what am I doing to monetize this pen in this right here? What am I using my head and my heart to put into my pen, to put on paper, to be able to empower the world? And so that's what the awakening is, and Awaken the Baller Within is, what is your idea of the greatest version of you? And are you going to wake up to that, or are you going to stay asleep and continue doing mundane work? I challenge you. If you want something greater, it's available to you. And like you said, I don't care who your parents were. I don't care who raised you. I don't care what your situation is, because at the end of the day, we all have the capacity to go out there and win. And I know somebody's going to be like, Ahmard, you don't understand what this kid's been through. I know. And I don't care from the standpoint of, I'm not going to let you use that as a crutch to not be great, right? I'm going to take all of that, and I'm going to turn whatever anger, whatever disgust, whatever disdain, or whatever you have, and we're going to repackage that into a love for something that's great that you can do, right? I'm not saying it's going to be easy. And you know what? We're not all created equal, right? Some of us got dealt a very worse hand than others, right? Some of us grew up in countries where we don't have the same freedoms that we have here, right? And so when you look at all of that, we can use all of that for the good to build under something else. And no, everyone's route to success is not going to be the same. I always say, you want to talk about privilege. Dr. Dre's kid has privileges that you and I don't have. Period. Anyone who's kids of these of famous ball players, actors, whatever, they have a different route. I'm not saying that they still don't put in the work, but financially they're not worried about anything. Whereas you and I may have to go work at Jack in the Box, Burger King, Best Buy, Five Guys. We might have to do that type of work to build up to be able to buy the first mic that you're speaking into right now. You saved your first $400 to be able to go buy that mic. Then you got to save up another $200 to go buy the headphones, and maybe you had to save up $1,000 to get the lights behind you. And you had to do that in stages while you still were pursuing a podcast dream. And so all of that comes together, and we put together a plan to be able to help you get there. Awaken the Baller Within does that, and of course I do that in my coaching as well. But that's where we break this down in stages. That's the dream. And now we take the breakdown and say, how are we supposed to get there? Step 1, let's go do this. Step 2, let's go do this. Step 3, you're going to take a little bit more time there, but we're going to make it work, right? Everybody thinks that there's this Thanos snap to success. Think that you could just think it into existence, which I know there was a big rush with The Secret back in the day, and it was just like, oh, thoughts are things, and boom, it's going to happen. Not quite. It's gonna be a little bit different than that. You can reality still happens, and a lot of those things. So I like to be around winners, and I like to look at all your junk, all the dirt, all of it. Like I put in my newest book, I give me the pot of gumbo, We're all a big pot of gumbo. We got some good, some bad. You don't even know what the taste comes together in one big harmony, but you don't know all the ingredients inside a gumbo. It's all sorts of things in there. But the beautiful thing at the end of it, it becomes a beautiful, nice dish, even though there's a whole lot of things in there that maybe you can't quantify, that is very nasty on its own, but it's beautiful in a big pot with other things. And so I encourage people to take their lives as that pot of gumbo. Give me all of it. Give me your divorce. Give me your debt. Give me your death of a loved one. Give me your failures in college. Give me your bankruptcy. Give me all of that. Give me your sprained ankle. Give me your concussions. Give me all of that. Give me your parents' separation. Give me all of that. Give me all of it. Let's just put it in there. Let's mix it up and let's go make something happen.
I have to say that those 10 minutes you just covered all this probably will change somebody's life just like that, just by listening to that. Because you've really, that's like the magic formula. I mean, that's the real formula, because you touch on the fact that no matter what your circumstances are, yes, some people have, just by default, they're gonna have different sets of things, right? Yet that doesn't mean anything. They still have to put the work. Yeah, maybe it's easier because, again, as you said, financially, if you have that road, it makes a lot of stuff, doors open maybe quicker. But it doesn't mean that the majority of us have that, and most of us will have to put maybe extra work. And you're right. No matter what your life has dealt to you, I mean, because we all, as you said, we've probably got the worst, cards dealt, to us, or hands dealt to us. But it doesn't matter. It's like, what are you going to make out of it? What is the best? What's not? I love that gumbo analogy that you throw in there, because I mean that's a pretty mixed up dish. But to us, everybody watching and listening has got a gumbo life. I mean, at a way, and if you think about it, there is some stuff that, and even when we see sometimes celebrities and we think that they have the life, you don't know what they're going through. Their lives can be as just as messed up as anyone else, and they just have a different type of problems, believe it or not. So everybody's got problems in life. If someone tells you that my life is peachy, then there's a problem. Because there is no peachy life. Yes, there is always bumps in the road. There's things happening, and whatever is gonna be thrown at you. It's how you deal with it. And then you mentioned a keyword early on: excuses. People try to find any reason not to do things, or to find an excuse where they can hang on to, not to put extra work and effort. But if you take the excuses out and you start working towards the goal that you set, and you can the dream, and then you start setting those goals and work towards them and tweak them as needed, things will happen. It is that. And by the way, you're right, you said something also powerful earlier. This podcast, this radio, this station, this network is not me. It's everybody else that's worked with me to get this. The reason why people still watch this stuff is because of you, because of every other guest that came, all the podcasters that are on the network, and the work they do, and their knowledge and their skills that they bring in, and their mission, because everybody's got a mission to, at least when you are out here, like yourself, yes, you're doing this, you have a business, you have this stuff, but within that business, there's a mission. And yes, besides, bring in some revenue and all that good stuff, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in the game there. The idea is that you're doing it in exchange of giving some service and some value to people. And that value is something that, you take to the bank. And really, that's really the whole thing. So you're right. No one succeeds alone. If someone thinks that it's all me, then that is ego number one, and it's not going to help you, and it's not going to serve you. You'll be very easily disappointed in the results eventually. You have to thank people that are around you, the people that serve you, the people that work with you, the people that helped you, get there. And you might even think about the least people that can probably have the impact is someone that just said, "Hey, listen, you can do this." Maybe one word, that could have made a difference in your life. You hear sometimes one guy or one gal tell you something, and it sticks with you like for the rest of your life. And that's actually what makes the moves for you. You never know, but never think that it's all you, because I mean, for anyone that has faith, there's God, of course. We thank God for all the stuff we have. But then there's the people that God puts in your way, and it's that's all there is. Every successful story started with some event, and there's no coincidences. So therefore, you meet someone not by chance, because you're meant to meet that person, and that person leads. And by the way, I challenge this many times, people. And I still do the challenge. Review your life to date. and see every single event that led to today, and then try tracing back to see where that road was and how you were, what happened, where did you get the first job, who got you the first job, who got you the second one, and or got you in the business mode, whatever it is. You're gonna find the link to every one of those, and it all makes sense eventually. Like sometimes we don't, obviously no one knows the future, and so we have no clue what is in store. But when you pass that stage, let's say you set, like you point, we set a 2 days, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, time frame. You plan, but then when you get to that point, you like look back, it's like, whoa, I didn't expect it to be exactly this way. And if that didn't happen, the second thing wouldn't have happened, right? If I didn't meet, Ahmad, maybe I didn't have this, and so on and so forth. And it all makes sense eventually. But at the end of the day, we gotta drop the excuses. We gotta, work towards, the successes, and we can do it. Everybody watching and listening has the right opportunity any given day. And we all have, it's the same thing. We all can succeed, except that some of us, we will find the reasons why not to get there. And your work, is an important work because you help people you motivate them, you coach them, you guide them, and you give them that back in. I mean, again, a coach, right? Like we're talking about sports. What does the coach do? I mean, they don't play the games. They guide the people, they train, they prepare them, they give them every single tool for them to do it. Now, at the end of the day, when a game is on, coach, they can scream all they want. They can switch strategy, but it's the players that are doing it. It's on them. And there's nothing you can do. You can maybe like, I need you to move here. I need you to move there. Maybe you see a move, you see a play. But at the end of the day, if they don't deliver on the play, it's over. So it is that you are that player, and everybody else that is around you is going to help you maneuver through it. So thank you for sharing that, Ahmad. Now you mentioned the second book, and I love the title of the second book. Now what? Is that the title? Did I get it right?
Yes. Now what? Now what? And now what is the third book, but it's the
Third book.
second
Okay.
one that's on the docket because it's different. It's a lot of material out there that's going on. But now what is the newest one that's out?
Also, it's perfect. Now what? Now we have a dream. Now we have our goals. Now what? I love that. So let's talk about that. What's this book bringing to people, and how does it serve all the stuff that we've discussed so far?
Now what was written at a very interesting time. It was written in the summer of 2020,
Ooh.
which if anybody was around for more than 10 minutes, a few things happened. And I just remember listening to the commentary and as I always say, man, I don't care where you are on the political aisle, on the social aisle, on the cultural aisle, or it does not matter. None of that stuff matters. All I know that there was a lot of screaming about what's owed, what somebody needs to do, who's going to do this for me, woe is me, my life is this, somebody needs to atone for this. And I was just like, man, can everybody just shut up? Right? Like, seriously, like, first of all, you're owed. You deserve nothing, right? You earn. You deserve, like, you deserve what you've earned. That's what you get. You don't know. There's no handouts, man. I teach my guys, once they get to a certain age, it's like, your parents are still your parents, but it's like you need to start putting in on stuff. Like, that's sort of where I am now. What focuses on the idea of major transformation in your life, right? Like someone who's made those mistakes. You may know a friend or two who's made that mistake. The one where it's like, I don't know who you're coming out of this, whether it's a bad divorce, going bankrupt, something in the criminal justice system, a foster kid coming up in a bad situation. And you're just like, everything around them is so negative. And I remember building this profile on a guy I've known for years. And he I was trying to help him through a coaching session. And I was like, okay, well, what about this? I can't do this because of this. Well, what about this? I can't do this because of this. Well, I got a case against me, so I can't do this. Well, get a lawyer. Well, I can't afford a lawyer because selling drugs is what got me in the situation in the first place. So I'm like, so the only thing you can do to make the most money and afford a lawyer is to do the thing that got you into trouble to be able to do it. Like, it was just a rabbit hole that was going nowhere. And I was like, all right, God, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I'm stuck. Like, every solution is met by a roadblock. And so I formulated now because it focuses on 5 steps to basically get up and create something new. because it's called Now What? 5 Steps to Get Up and Create the Most of Life. Basically saying, give me all your dirt, everything. Give me the dirty clothes. Give me the screaming kids. Give me the fire in the front yard. Give me the foreclosure. Give me the repoed car. Give me all of that. Remember, we talked about that gumbo earlier. Gumbo came in the Now What book. But we take all of that and say, okay, life is pretty crappy right now. Like, and I mean, and there's an exercise I have. I was like, you know what? I want you to have a full pity party, a full one. I mean, a full one. I mean, I'm talking about, if you want to go with the cheap wine, just sit over in a corner, cry, all that stuff. And I said, I want you to pull out one of these. One of these old school. Remember these old school big legal pads, big yellow ones. I like the yellow ones the best.
Thanks,
And I
buddy.
want you to draw a line. I want you to draw a line down it. And I want you to put good and bad on each side of it. And on one side, I literally want you to write out. I'm going to use a choice word. It's not going to be profanity. I want you to write down on this paper, in every way your life sucks. Like everything. Like, when people are giving you the excuses of why they can't succeed, I want you to write down all the nonsense, all of it. This person don't like me. This person took a job from me. This person ripped me off for $400. Like, I want you to put down all of it. Everywhere your life is completely, or what you perceive to be completely and utterly garbage. No restoration. Like, you're just done. Put it all down there. And I want you to take that pad and I want you to stash it away for at least 48 hours. Put it away and go on and do your life. And then when you come back after that amount of time, I usually say the shortest time I want you to be away is like 8 hours, because I want you to kind of get a refresh. I want you to go do some stuff, maybe go grab you a bite to eat or something and come back. Typically you want at least a day. And I want you to come back and I want you to pray, sit still, and just allow whatever's on that pad, because you may remember it, you may not. And you go back and you look in the pad after you come out of time with your father. And I want you to look over all of those different things that are on there. And I want you to put on the other side, what's good here? That's the exercise. What's good here? And I want you to look at that thing that you said is so terrible. And I want you to look and find the good that was in that. Because maybe that lost opportunity led you to the new job you're at. Maybe that situation right there forced you to get your finances in order. Maybe that situation right there made you move to another place where you're going to do some different things. Maybe that place right there, you're looking down and you're like, wait a minute. Why am I even still thinking about this person? Then at that point, you bless that person and you scratch them out. Like, why do you have airspace? And why do you have real estate in my head? Why am I still, I haven't thought about you in 12 years. So why are they taking? So then you go through that and you find out what's good there, because you'll realize either A, you don't need to be thinking about it at all because it's useless. It's not bringing you forward anywhere. Or B, you'll be like, I learned so much from my father dying. I learned so much from going bankrupt. I learned so much from my kids being taken from me. I learned so much from getting fired from that job. That was my dream job, or so you thought. And so we take all of those situations and it's just repackaging the way you see life, right? Because a lot of times we're sitting there looking at all these things that are bad, but it's like you became a stud after you blew your knee out. You rebuilt your knee and now you're one of the best linebackers in the country. But you didn't have the same work ethic you did before you blew that knee out. And so we take, this is one of the foundational principles in there, is the what's good here, because really until we can like deal with the nonsense and the blockages that are in our head that tells us we can't, because we're listening to voices that don't matter, because we're looking in the mirror and saying like, you're such a loser. And it's just like, please stop. You, for one, you're a child of God. So I'm not even trying to hear that whatsoever. But the bottom line is that I want you to look in there and say, there's a winner in there, because you know what? As they say in the old church, God didn't make no junk. And so I want them to get back to that place. And we have to go through this portion where there may be some tears that come from this. There may be some therapy that may need to come from this, right? There may be a whole lot of different things that need to be handled from this. but it's worth it. And once we do that, then we can go into the 5 steps. We can go into the steps of reflection, meaning that you're looking back and saying, oh, man, what do I have here? Oh, it's a lot of junk. All right, let's start one box at a time. Go get you a trash bag. And let's start one box at a time and start dumping that trash in there, right? Get the shredder out, right? Call the rat pack. What's that crew that comes by with the big bin and you just throw your stuff in there and they just haul it off? You know,
junk. One hand got junk.
Yeah. Well, the junk people, whatever. Call them over here and let's just start unloading the junk, right? Because see, when you take care of the things that is in your closet, the closet that nobody wants to look at, that they keep throwing stuff in, when you clean out the closet, see, the closet is your mind, right? You got a lot of junk in there that needs to go. It needs to go. And so when you do this exercise, you get rid of the junk, right? And so we reflect on that. Like, how did I get all this junk around me? I need to get rid of this. Like I say, clean your room, you clean your mind. Because why? You can think better in a place where there is space. Then we go into the decision. All right, now that I clean the junk out, what do I want to do? Decide what that's going to be. What's H's next move? What's Kelly's next move? What's Billy's next move? Right? Decide what you want. And so then when you go to the decision part and you're like, all right, I want to do this. So now we go into the planning stage. Like you said, you spoke earlier about the bubbles with the case. You get your mind maps out. You get your plans out. You start breaking these large goals down into, there's your dream. And we start breaking that thing down into goals to where every day you're committed to something towards that larger goal. That goal may be a 10, 20-year plan. It don't matter. Every day we're making steps towards that. Like I said, that which I see on your screen from you right now, that didn't just show up on day one, right? That took time. That took some things. So you planned that. So now once you get the planning stage going, now it's time to get into action. And like I share with a lot of people, do not wait till your plans are perfect to go into action. Do the plans and go run. Yes, you're going to run into a roadblock. Yes, you're going to catch a pothole. Yes, you're going to sprain an ankle. Yes, you're going to catch a bear trap. Yes, you might get attacked by a dog along the way. But that is part of the plan. You needed to run into that to figure out what doesn't work. Nothing burns me more than a marketing plan that's never tried. You don't know if it works. Like people spend all this money on a marketing plan. It's like, I got to get it right. I got to get it right. The only way you know if it's right is to go out there and check it. But we get that sometimes. And so we go into action and we go in and you start doing all the things and you find out what works and what doesn't work. And our last one and our most important one, and you spoke on this earlier, is seeking. So we reflect, decide, plan, action, and then we seek. What are we seeking? We're seeking counsel. We're seeking mentors. We're seeking experts. We're seeking advice. We're seeking education, right? Here's this goal. I'm going out there and I'm trying it. What do I need to level up? Or as we say in the business, what do I need to scale, right? What do I need to be able to move this from point A to point B? I'm seeing a little bit of success or I'm seeing no success. Where are we pivoting? Okay, now it's time to go find me, the best expert in this field, and let me go have a conversation with him. Let me take him to coffee, right? Let me take him out to lunch. You start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. Man, my one of the guys I work with, Dr. Greg Reed, he says the most successful people are the most available people. The most successful people are the most available people. And I was like, is that really true? And then I thought about it. He runs the #1 networking conference in the world. And when I first wanted him to be part of the Now What book, I was like, I'd like for him to be part of that book. What's the odds I can get a guy who's what? A 10 times bestseller, runs the largest networking group out here? I sent him a message on Instagram and I was like, all right, I'll wait to hear back from him in like 2 months. Man, I was at the weight room. 45 minutes later, that guy hit me back and was like, hey, what you need? Want to talk to you about a book? Call me. Yeah, my workout's on timeout right now. I'm like, are you serious right now? I get on the phone with him within no time. I called him on the phone. He had 15 minutes. I took 12, and he gave me all the quotes for one of the chapters in this book. And that person you think is the expert in your field, with social media, what's the worst that can happen? They don't answer. But you'll be surprised. You can reach out to some people and you don't realize it, like they're closer to you than you think. And so that's where the seeking counsel comes in. And that takes care of the 5 steps of Now What, 5 steps to get up and create the most of life. I wrote that a lot for like young adults who come out of school with educations. They don't have a clue what to do with it. They don't know how to go out and earn any money. And they don't realize that, like, sometimes your dream is up here, but you might have to work that McJob down here to reach that one. Because everybody always just like that whole, they've lied to these generations before. It's like, oh, do what makes you happy. No, do what's fulfilling, do what's needed. That do what makes you happy nonsense has got you out here, eating bugs and living on somebody's floor, right? Sometimes you got to do what's not so awesome, right? Sometimes you got to live in that efficiency apartment, right? Do you 8, 10 months there? Where those apartments where the whole room is just one big thing. The kitchen's in the corner, the bathroom's over there behind one door. Your bed is in there next to the living room. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Where you got to live in that 600 square foot box to build your dream, to build the life you want. And so I want us to start thinking about things on that level, because the game isn't easy, but it's definitely worth it.
I'm listening to you. I'm getting pumped, man. And some of it, takes me back to my own days. And by the way, I did live in that box too. So I know exactly what that looks like. A small place, that you point, the kitchen and the bathroom. It's literally the size of an actual bathroom size. And, we were two of us, roommate in there. So I can tell you, I know that. And you know what? There's no shame in the game there. That's actually was my stepping stone to get to the next level and the next level, and it helped us save some money, get what we needed to do, and transit to the next level. And from that point on, everything got better. And yes, at the time you got to take the best of it, and that's just an example. I love that, because for our audiences, and by the way, I want to thank you for the work you do, because not only you talk to audiences around the world, and you've been around the world. I mean, in Africa, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, and all the stuff, and you motivate people around. Also, you take the time to focus on the youth, and the youth is our future. And I think all our youth needs more than ever, needs advice and counseling, and really some coaching and mentoring across the board. And I love it, because the work you do is going to make a difference. And you're right. Sometimes we feel entitled, yeah, these days, and sometimes we feel like, oh, I don't want to suffer. Well, suffering is going to come along, whether you like it or not. If you don't suffer early, you're going to suffer later. So guess what? Let me get. And by the way, in entrepreneurship, that is a rule. I work hard for 2 3 years. I go crazy for three years, no sleep, working 3 7 days a week, whatever, and then I can rest for the rest of my life, or I can rest now and just keep working until I die, and that's all there is. So there's all that balance, but understand these dynamics. It makes a big difference. So your work, man, is it's top notch, man. You keep it up, keep motivating the folks out there. And by the way, I mean, you are a minister, and you do, I guess, teens ministry, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? That's what you do. So, and by the way, it comes across, in your, the way you talk. It's like, that pastoral, it's like it's the minister, talking, and by the way, there's a power there. I mean, it's genuine. It comes on, and it gets deeper to the people. I mean, people are watching and listening right now. It just gets to you. I mean, I'm getting through, and I'm watching you right now. I'm looking at you, but people will actually do the same by watching the show or listening to it, and they get that vibe. I mean, you've touched on a lot of things. These elements that you've talked about, they're core elements that, if taken seriously, it will make a whole different, whoever you're watching and listening right now. So now I want to just, I mean, we're coming on in the end of the show, but I want to touch on the services you deliver right now, like the actual company and the mentorship. How does that work? What is the program, entail for people who are interested in actually working with you?
Yes, and thank you. I obviously I do a lot. I do keynote speaking. I speak a lot in schools, small businesses, nonprofits, and community centers. That's sort of been most of my contacts as of late. I do some conferences as well, for different things. That usually goes through my bureau, but definitely available to do keynote speakings typically. And I even do some seminars too. So I'll take that. I'll take the keynote that you like, and we'll stretch it out over 4 hours. We'll stretch it out over a day, and do some work there. I do some mental performance coaching. I work a lot with young people and with grown people. Like, we're talking about the transition. We're talking about now what, like, here's where I am. Let's unpack this. What are you trying to do? And let's go ahead and get that. Let's go ahead and build a bridge. Put a couple planks on that bridge. So do some coaching, whatever, professionally, and just kind of overcoming some things. Obviously, I'm not getting too much into the psychology of things, but there is a psychological component, and obviously we do work some ministry in there as well, because I do think that love, gratitude, and service is the foundation of life, and so that will be a part of what we do. I do some curriculum building as well. Create lesson plans for nonprofits, so that's another avenue people book me for, and other than that, I'm pretty much moving around, speaking, writing, empowering, and just and of course the ministry work that I'm doing with my young people. So that's more of the service element. But as far as service is, I'll say speaking, coaching, and writing, and all of those things are available obviously on my website, available on all the social media platforms as well. Definitely want to hear from the good people out there. We definitely are going to have a busy spring. We got several colleges lined up we're going to deal with. I got to make another trip out to the west side of Texas, do some more work out there from coaching and from a keynote speaking, and probably going to do some workshops down there as well, along with some ministry work. So, hey, man, we're out here just trying to do the good work, do what God has called us to do, and really just follow that calling, and be able to provide great and useful services for the people who book me.
You are making a difference, man. And I have to say, we need a lot more people that are doing exactly what you're doing. And yeah, folks, not now. I know you. I mentioned you travel as well, so it's not like you're restricted to Texas. So people can literally leverage your skills and your speaking and mentorship across the nation and across the globe. And I think we can use that. I'm sure you can do also remote stuff and webinars and things, so that also can be a piece of it. The book is definitely, yeah, the three books can actually be literally good resources and guides as well. So there's plenty of stuff that we can actually learn and be thankful to you, Ahmad. So I am honored today, and really had the privilege to have you on with us, and really sharing your system and your programs and your ideology, and it's all powerful stuff that we can all use some of it, if not all of it. So we're at the end of the time here, but I want to just I always ask this question, like, can you give us some last words of wisdom to our audiences to just leave them, to part them with? Oh.
Parting words will come from my father. It's one of the few things I've remembered most of my life. And he told me to live the best life you can, then give it all away. Live the best life you can, then give it all away. Life is bigger than you. Life is meant to be impactful towards others. Develop some altruism in your life, and you'll see how life change. Serve, be grateful, and love those around you, and you'll see a major difference in your life. The keys to having a successful life are not complex. They're very simple. They just need to be consistent. And people need to know where you stand with them. And they need to know that you're somebody who can be counted upon for them. So serve, love, be grateful, and give it all away in the end.
Full wisdom there, man. This is gonna be one of the clips. This is definitely gonna have a highlight out there, and people will have to catch on that one, in the social media, because I think that if we just listen to that part alone, I mean, we can be making a difference in our own selves and our behavior and our lives. And I think we can use all the wisdom that we can get these days, and that's all there is to it. Samad, it was really so much fun having you here, and I've learned a lot, and I know our audiences will do the same. I will have the actual link to your website in the description of the show, so people can actually link up to you directly. Um, so, folks, I hope you've had a great time with us and enjoyed the show, and we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. I'm Hurricane H. Bye for now.